Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys football. The fellas heading to the conference we know best, the Big Ten, as Illinois, a team that kind of was like a Cinderella story after that loss against Indiana, looked to be one of the best teams, looked to be the team in the Big Ten West, struggled as of late, comes on the road to Ann Arbor to play the Michigan Wolverines, who've just been absolutely on a tear. The Michigan fans, and we have a lot on that listen, and we are obviously Michigan fans, so we talk a lot of Michigan football, have been a little bit disappointed with how Michigan has looked, specifically on the offense side of the ball, because they want more explosive passing plays. That is kind of the sexy part of what people want to see out of offenses. But guess what? If it ain't broken, you don't need to fix it. Michigan and Blake Corum just running the ball at an extremely high level. This will be a very good game because Illinois has one of the best defenses in the whole entire country, especially against the run. Before we get into this one, again, I just want to say thank you guys for the support you guys have shown the channel. Actually, both the Illini fans and the Michigan fans, we've talked a lot with you guys both, and the support you guys have shown really does mean a lot. So if you like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We really do appreciate that. Dill, I'm going to kick it off to you. What are your early takes on this game here?
Yeah, so maybe 2 weeks ago you asked me, I would have thought this is going to be I mean, Michigan was always going to be a big favorite and a team you think is going to win it here. But you would have thought this was going to be a much tougher game. I think after the recent performance of Illinois and maybe just like reflecting on what type of team they are, I don't suspect this is going to be particularly close. But again, it might be. Michigan's not had a wildly hard schedule up to date. It probably is going to be the second toughest game besides Penn State and maybe Michigan State. I don't know.
And this Illinois team is no joke. You look at the game against Michigan State, they outgained them by almost 200 yards, I believe, and ended up going, I think, 0 for 5 on fourth downs and weren't able to come away with the win. And that Purdue game, we were bet on Illinois. We liked the matchup. The same refs that were calling the Indiana game kind of came back to bite the Fighting Illini again. The pass interference call on Devin Witherspoon to end the half, and then what? The next play goes for a touchdown to Charlie Jones. I know the Illini fans are frustrated. I don't like to talk about the refs a lot, but it didn't seem like it was the best game of the refs in that one. Illinois could have easily won that game if you take away that call, which it was a bad. That particular play was a bad call. They were calling a lot of contact. The Illinois secondary likes to get handsy. Like, that's just what they do. They're big, long guys that like to play man coverage. They like to put their hands on you. And when you have an officiating crew that's going to call those kind of flags, it's going to be a long day for that Illinois defense because that's what they want to do. That's how they play defense. And you take a look at what they've done. I mean, it's worked extremely well. Teams are only averaging 4.6 yards per play, 3 yards per carry, and only a 48% completion percentage. They're turning the ball over at one of the highest rates in America. Ryan Walters in this defense is phenomenal, and it's going to be Michigan's probably biggest test, maybe outside of Penn State on the defense side of the ball, and seeing what Michigan can do running against an Illinois defense that is phenomenal.
Yeah, and you just talk about that side of it. I mean, someone's going to need to prove it to me that they can stop Michigan before I ever think it's even possible. Because right now, like, Penn State, good run defense, yada, yada, hammered them. Iowa, same thing, crushed them. Michigan's run game is at such a high level at the moment. I'm not convinced anyone can actually stop it. And I still think Blake Corum's going to go over 150 in whoever backs him up, Stokes or obviously Donovan Edwards.
Johnny Edwards, yeah.
If he's healthy, they're going to do their thing too. So I don't know. Illinois looks like, I don't think they have the horses yet to deal with a Michigan run game. And just looking at it, I think they're early on in their process of rebuilding. So that's probably my initial thought is I still think Michigan's going to run the ball really well. And if they couldn't run it, there would be a problem because I don't think Michigan's got the pass game to really destroy this.
That's the biggest question. And that's, as a Michigan fan heading into the big game against Ohio State, I'm excited to see if this Michigan team can run the ball against the defenses that talented up front. Guys like Johnny Newton, Seth Coleman, Tariq Barnes, Keith Randolph Jr. They have some dogs in the front seven that can be very active in the run game. They're very good at getting in the backfield, creating those negative plays. Michigan's going to need to try to avoid that. And one of the big question marks is, say they do struggle to run the ball, which we haven't seen them struggle to run the ball yet. They're going to have to throw the ball, and this is going to be a big challenge. If there's one knock on this Michigan offense, and I'm not even going to say it's the passing game in general because I think JJ's been pretty solid. He's been pretty accurate, hasn't turned the ball over that much. The wide receivers in the route running concepts guys just don't seem to be getting open. Outside of a guy like Ronnie Bell, it's been tough sledding for the wide receivers to make plays on the football vertically. Guys like Cornelius Johnson, a guy that you thought would be very good vertically down the field. He was very good last year. Hasn't really made the plays that you've been expecting to make. And guys going up against guys like Jertavius Martin, Devin Witherspoon, Sidney Brown on the back end. I'm excited to see what Michigan's offense looks like against an Illinois defense that might be one of the best. It might be one of the best in the country and certainly in the Big Ten.
And that's what I think every week we talk about it, but like you want to see the pass game get a little bit more proficient. And yes, the tight ends and Ronnie Bell have both, those two areas have played really well. You're waiting. Roman Wilson's been good when he's been healthy. I don't want to knock him. He's obviously like a guy who's made a few big plays on third down and moving the sticks type plays. But everyone else, I mean, you're kind of waiting. You're right to see Cornelius Johnson, Andrel Anthony, one of them to really step up and kind of be that next weapon. Because again, I think it's fine. Obviously, Michigan running the ball for like 6 yards, it feels like every play minimum. And you're going to win a lot of games doing that. And I think Michigan could beat Illinois running the ball however they do it. If they ran it like 45 times and threw it 10 or something, I suspect Michigan's got the horsepower to do that. But you're right. What you keep wanting to build is, can you throw against the secondary that's really good? And I think if they can throw the ball against Illinois relatively effectively, that would give Michigan fans, I would think, a lot of confidence that, yeah, if we do see a team like a Georgia or a Clemson or one of those teams that are really physical up front and you're going to need to be balanced, I think that would give Michigan fans at least some confidence that, okay, we can maybe deal with them
a little bit more two-dimensional than we've seen. We've never had to be two-dimensional this year. We've just
that's the issue is like, I know people keep jumping on it, but I mean, why throw the ball 30 times when you're running the way Michigan is?
And you flip the coin and look at this Illinois offense. It's very similar to what Michigan wants, like very similar to how Michigan runs. Like Chase Brown, you lean on a guy like Chase Brown in a very heavy way. It's a very good offensive line with some big guys. They like to pull those guys. Very similar style to how Michigan moves the football. And then Tommy DeVito, again, they don't throw for a ton of yards. I mean, Tommy DeVito's only thrown for 2,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Very similar stat line to what JJ's done this year. That being said, I just think they're going to really struggle to run the football on this Michigan team. And when you get guys like Tommy DeVito behind the sticks, they don't push the ball downfield that much. I've liked what I've seen from some of the wide receivers. Like, you take a look, I mean, you knew Isaiah Williams was going to be good, but Brian Hightower, Pat Bryant, they've both stepped up. My question is Illinois going to be able to run the ball against a Michigan team that's even more dominant against the run? You look at what they did against Penn State. They're only allowing 2.6 yards per carry to opposing running backs. If Illinois can't run the football, I really struggle to see them moving the ball at all.
That's the thing. You look at what Michigan's got is they're big and athletic across the defensive line. I mean, everybody's pretty much gigantic, I'd say. You look a Mike Morris, huge D-end, Iabioki, big D-end. So that's kind of what you're faced with when you go up against a Michigan, is you got a big group of good athletes. And I think the one place Michigan hasn't been maybe dominating like people want is the pass rush. I think it's been good enough, but I think there's been times where it's like maybe you want to fire it up more. But that defensive line, they're a real challenge to run on for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like the pass rush started out the year very good. But the last couple of games, like, I thought we'd be able to get a little bit more pass rush against the Nebraska offensive line. That wasn't great. But outside of Mike Morris, who has 11 TFLs and 7.5 sacks, there hasn't been a ton of guys. Braden McGregor stepped up early. We haven't seen a ton of him. Iabioki has been great. I'm still kind of waiting for him to kind of step on that gear a little bit. Guys like Mazi Smith, I want to see more Mason Graham. I think he's one of the better interior defensive linemen that we have. It seems like it's going to be very hard for Illinois to run the football against Michigan. And then I just don't see them protecting Tommy DeVito enough to push the ball down the field. You get this Illinois team into 3rd and 8. That's where they struggle. Tommy DeVito, very accurate in those short intermediate throws. That's what they want to do. They can't really push the ball down the field. Dill, Michigan, 17-point favorites at home. We don't normally bet against Michigan because you see a lot of big spreads. This one seems tight. And when I take a look at this game, I see the score being around 30-10. I don't see Illinois getting much traction on the offense side of the ball. And Michigan might not light up the scoreboard, but I think they're going to score their points. I think they cover the 17 points here.
Yeah, I don't think Illinois has the athletes to do what they what they need to do against Michigan yet. Because again, you're right. They're playing they both play the same kind of style of football.
Yes.
It's just Michigan's more
Better.
developed. The system's been in place for a long time.
The athletes are better.
Who they want to do it. So I don't think this game's going to be particularly close, frankly. If you asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have thought 17 was a ridiculous line, but I think Illinois kind of come back down to earth, and I think Michigan's going to be a problem for them.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you here. I'm interested to see that over under because I do think Michigan will be able to score, and then Illinois they don't have that explosive element to their offense. That's kind of where Michigan struggled with. You look at how Michigan State was able to score some points, or Penn State for a matter of fact. The only times they really scored points was hitting some explosive plays. Michigan, very, very good at kind of limiting those. I don't think Illinois has the juice to hit some of those explosive plays. I like Michigan to cover 17 and then really hit their stride. The only thing you'd worry about from a betting standpoint is the look ahead. Like if you're up, you're probably just trying to get through that second half, get your guys healthy for the biggest game of the year.
And does Michigan play everybody? Because in the past couple of weeks, they have not been.
No, like guys like Trevor Keegan, Donnie Edwards probably getting more than 2 carries if this is an Ohio State or Penn State game. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. It might be, although I would be surprised if Michigan just overlooks this Illinois team because they play good defense. They're going to take the ball away. You have to. This isn't a game that you want to overlook because this Illinois team is still very, very good. They're still 7-3. They're 4-3 in the Big Ten. They're not the Illinois team that we've known for the last 5 years. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited. This is going to be classic Big Ten football. It's probably going to be cold. The elements are going to be a factor. This is going to be a fun one. We really do appreciate you guys, especially the Big Ten fans. If you guys like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate y'all, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.